Can you buy one of these? Can I buy one of these? Welcome to day 2 of Sea Otter. Just rolled into my new rig. We're gonna check out some new stuff at the show today, cruise around, maybe go for a drive. We'll see what's new. Small outfit out of Ashland, Oregon. Madrone is making their own derailleur completely from scratch. And additionally, they are making replacement parts for existing SRAM derailleurs. Now, for those of us who've owned, say, a 12-speed derailleur for a few years, you realize that over time, the cage probably gets bent over a few impacts or running into a rock or something like that. Additionally, the bushings in the parallelogram can wear out over time, and you kind of get some slop in the system. It never quite shifts the same again. So Aaron at Madrone is making complete replacement sets, as well as pins and the tools to do the work. This, for instance, is a pin pressing tool that allows you to change out the pins in the parallelogram, facilitates the process, makes it a whole lot easier. He's got all little constituent tools, like this little guy is for removing the circlips that hold the pins in place. Just a really smart series of products. Maybe the most exciting thing here is just the fact that you can keep your expensive parts alive. There's nothing more frustrating than going out for a ride on a $600 derailleur, smashing it on a rock, and having the whole thing be garbage. So thanks to Madrone, you can now replace all the pieces that have broken and keep your stuff running longer. I have a whole article on the site about the new derailleur as well as the replacement parts, and that new derailleur is in development still, so it's probably worth touching on at a later date. But suffice to say, it's pretty exciting. It's going to work with SRAM, Shimano, all the existing 12-speed systems out there. It's a beautiful object as well, so I'm looking forward to seeing what he develops there. We are now here at the Vorsprung booth. Vorsprung is a suspension tuner out of Whistler, British Columbia, Canada. Maybe not just a tuner anymore, because they're making their own rear shock. This is the Vorsprung Tellum, full ground-up coil project they've been working on for a few years now. Retailing for $1,200 US. You've got low-speed compression, high-speed compression, hydraulic bottom out, low-speed rebound, and all of these shocks ship with a Sprindex, so you'll be able to index your specific weight in there. One of the novel things about this shock is it has a patented technology that allows you to change the valving externally without having to rebuild the shock. I don't really know much about that tech yet, and probably won't, but it's cool. The idea there is that you can take the existing shock as you have it, change it from being a very light compression tune to a very heavy compression tune without having to pull it apart and do a bunch of shop work on that end. The hydraulic bottom out kicks in the last 15 millimeters of travel, and that changes ever so slightly depending on what stroke you're running, but essentially in that realm. It is tuned specifically to the bike and the rider. That is one key thing, similar to like how a lot of other boutique shock makers do their stuff. You'll have to send in the bike you're riding, your personal weight, maybe a bit about your ride style, and it's going to be built specifically for you. We are now at the Duke Wheels booth. Duke is a French company with North American distribution. They make a whole lineup of wheels, but we're kind of going to focus today a bit on the cross-country lineup. This is the Lucky Jack rim. The Lucky Jack comes in a few different flavors, but primarily is geared towards cross-country racing. They've got 3 different layups for it. The lightest option, the more mid-tier, kind of like across the board, and then like a heavyweight. The recommendation tends to be like run the lightweight up front and the heavy in the rear, but maybe split the middle if you're just wanting an all-around kind of wheel. They come with 2 different hub options. We've got the Mad Max, which is the higher end hub, straight pull, slightly higher engagement with 70 points, and then the Bad Boy, which is the slightly less expensive J-bend, 40 points of engagement. Both are ratchet rings. You can get a little sound right there. But a nice little ratchet ring design on these. It's captive on one side, attached directly to the free hub, and then the other uses this interesting little leaf spring and kind of a nice, very lightweight ratchet on that end. Retail on the wheels comes out to between $2,200 and $2,400 for the set, depending on the specs that you're looking for. So certainly not a cheap wheel set, but for the weight. You get around 1,200 grams for the wheel set, and for the like customization options between all the different hubs they make available and the different layups, you could definitely like land exactly on the wheel set that you're looking for. I just learned that their downhill rims are actually raced by some of the Commencal World Cup teams. Like many rim manufacturers now, they're telling a compliance story with things, but on theirs it's quite visual. The rear rim comes in a much shallower depth, so it's meant to act as a slightly more damped wheel, where the front is deeper. Their thought is more precise. You know, maybe you could argue that two of the rear ones would make for like the most compliant ride if that's what you're looking for, but I think their logic is downhill racers kind of want a precise front rim. The weight on the two of these is significantly different. The rear, much heavier layup, front rather light. Makes sense because the impact forces are significantly different. Yeah, just cool to see the level of, say, customization going into the differentiation between all the different rims that they offer.
We're here at the EXT booth. I've got a couple of interesting, exciting new products. First thing, we're gonna start off, the Varia upside down downhill fork. It's gonna be available with 170 to 200 millimeters of travel. So kind of big news. They had EXT had a fork designed for electric motos previously. So this one designed for mountain bikes. Brand new cartridge damper in there, brand new air spring, and those are going to also trickle down to their right side up forks. You also have some bleed valves up here, and some high speed, low speed compression adjustment, bleed valve on both sides, air spring, air actually goes in the bottom. There's two valves, hexagonal through axle. It's pretty cool. It'll accept either a 15 millimeter or a 20 millimeter through axle, so you could potentially use the same wheels on your Enduro bike as you use on your downhill bike. So probably somewhere around 3 kilograms, not confirmed yet, and the price somewhere around $2,000. EXT are also going to be releasing a new Storia shock and an Arma. And basically, this is the Storia, designed more for kind of Enduro bikes. It's got the lockout or pedal assist lever. Also now has externally adjustable bottom mount resistance, new steel shaft with a DLC coating, new feature to make it not top out, so like a little bit more firmer off the top. Yeah, Storia, those will be available pretty soon, somewhere in May, and this will be available in September.
At the Anomaly booth, talking about the Switch Grade. This is not a new device, but this is a new version of said device. Matt Beer reviewed one of these a couple years back. I've been riding one on one of my bikes for a while. Typically, the Anomaly Switch Grade is a 3-position saddle tilt adjuster, but they are releasing a 2-position one, I think because of a lot of popular demand. For myself, I only use it in 2 positions, and I think a lot of people fit that bill. You kind of just want like nose down for climbs, nose flat or back for descents, and that's exactly what this does. It has a 12-degree sweep between whatever, let's call it nose down and back, allowing you to just tilt your saddle back, get it at a slightly better angle to get it out of the way. This is also less expensive than the prior Switch Grade, coming in at $185 US. What else? We've got different fit kits now, so as opposed to the prior version, which required you to have an Anomaly built specifically for a given dropper post, this one is kind of a ubiquitous design with different little shim kits that come with it to fit specific posts. It's going to have slightly less fitment options than the prior version, or than let's call it the full fat version, but it should fit most of the popular posts on the market. They've got one-ups, reverbs, axis posts, bike yokes, like all the mainstay aftermarket options. I'd be keen to try this one. Again, I do like the 3-position, but I think 2 will probably be more appropriate for my ride needs. But if you think it's for you, go ahead and check it out at Anomaly's website. Last but not least, we're here behind the SRAM booth with this hot new rig. This was made by Danielle Sean up in Squamish, showcasing all of the finest downhill and enduro products from SRAM on perhaps the finest downhill/enduro bike I've ever seen. We've got the new 20-inch front wheel with a 29er rear. This is the reverse mullet of the future. Do we know any geo numbers on this bike?
Really slack.
Really slack.
Hold on, it's probably on the schematic.
Oh, there we go. It's got adjustable chain stays with a T-type derailleur, which is still quite rare. We've got a goose next to me. Seems to be minding its own business. We've got a bottle cage on the top. Maven brakes with the biggest looking 200 mil rotor I've ever seen. We'll have to upsize that a little bit to match the size of the front wheel. It's got a dropper post. It's got a Zeb with 170 mil of travel. I'm gonna try to get this in for a long-term review at some point, see what the bike of the future feels like. Suffice to say, it's groundbreaking. That's it for day 2. Thanks for tuning in. We'll have some more for you tomorrow, so be sure to subscribe to the channel to catch it right when it drops.